All right, it is 9:15. Why don't we begin to order the meeting of the Public Library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County with thanks to the staff of the Anderson branch for welcoming us here. Not only is this branch blessed with a very capable and committed staff, but also with a group of volunteers who seem to lead the way for the entire system. The reports that we receive of the things that go on here are very impressive. The president of the board, Ross Wright, is unable to be here for professional reasons that precluded his presence, and so in his absence, I'm going to chair the meeting. Molly, will you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Moran?
Here.
Mrs. Trout?
Here.
Mr. Zering?
Here.
Mrs. Lamacchia?
Here.
Mr. Hendon?
Here.
Mr. Sittenfeld?
Here. Are there any public comments from any of our visitors?
There are no public comments.
There are no public comments. The action items begin with the Library Operations Services Committee.
Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce our hostess this morning, Katie Greifenkamp. Katie obviously was born under a wandering star because she's been into a bunch of different branches here. She graduated in 1988 from Denison University with a bachelor's degree in English. She began her career at the library in 1990 as library services assistant to Green Township. The same year enrolled in Master of Library Science program through UK. She earned her MLS degree in 1992 and was promoted to librarian position in Green Township. In 1993, she became a children's librarian in Oakley, where she served until being promoted to branch manager position in Price Hill in 1998. In 2002, she was promoted to manager of the Mount Washington branch, and in 2010, promoted here as manager of the Anderson branch, where she currently serves. Over the years, she served on numerous project teams and has participated in a variety of roles at the Library Management Academy program. Currently, she is serving as one of two facilitators for the class of Management Academy graduates. Katie, thank you.
Thank you. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
And thanks so very much for hosting us.
You're very welcome.
Did you have to make it rain?
I tried. I tried. Well, good morning and welcome to the Anderson Branch Library. Welcome to the East Side. We are one of the branches on our easternmost corridors here in Hamilton County. And I'm going to talk for a moment about why the Anderson branch is so successful. In 2013, we were the second busiest library branch in our entire county system. We ranked number 2 in terms of circulation with over 689,000 items circulated. And of course, that would include books, music, magazines, DVDs, playaways, all of the things that people come to the library for. We were the top branch in terms of programs that we offer to the public. We had 1,008 programs, and these would include things like story times, author visits, yoga programs, book clubs, technology appointments, and many, many more. So we had 20,473 people in attendance as audience members for these programs. We had over 265,000 visitors come through our door last year, and we had over 44,000 PC sessions. That's people coming into the library to use our computers. So there's many, many reasons why we have these great numbers here at Anderson. We have a great community full of engaged families and people of all ages who really like to support their library. We have a great facility. We're very fortunate there. We also have a really terrific partnership with the Anderson Township Library Association. So that's a really significant reason for our success. They're able to provide us a lot of financial assistance, which allows us to do a little bit more than some of our other branches. They pay for things like children's musician Zach Morgan to come and perform. We have the McGing Irish Dancers every St. Patty's Day, and we really draw crowds from all across the county. So people come here, even if they don't necessarily live in Anderson, they still come to use our library. So we have a great staff who's committed to customer service as well. So ATLA has also provided lots of resources for what we call the Anderson Township Library Collection. And this is a collection of books, and they primarily focus on the art and the history and the cultures of the world. And these are lovely, large coffee table size books that we can circulate to other branch libraries when people request them for holds, but they always do come back to Anderson, so they're permanently housed here, so our community always has the ability to browse these. And we couldn't do that, or we couldn't have quite that nice of a collection without ATLA's support. ATLA has also paid for a lot of our technology. They've paid for some of our public computers out for the public to use. We have 3 relatively new iPads, which we have deployed and ready for customers to just walk up and sit down and use. They are secured and they get a lot of use. That's something special that ATLA's been able to provide for us as well. They've also given us the funds for our large screen here that we've recently had installed in our meeting room. And they've just really been instrumental in helping us serve our community. So it is a partnership that we work together on, and we spend some time. They spend a great deal of their time volunteering, and we're always trying to be available to them. But we couldn't do what we do without their support. So they really are a nice enhancement for us. And all of these things work together to help us serve our community. Do you have any questions for me?
What have you learned here that might be useful in terms of best practices or encouragement of active engagement, involvement, both in support and utilization in areas that are not as educated broadly and affluent and non-public transit dependent as this area is?
Well, I have worked in some of our more urban branches, and I do see a disparity in the access that people can have.
Okay.
And so it does feel like a blessing to be here in Anderson Township, where people have the internet at home. They have many more options. But you'd still be surprised that, people in our community, particularly when the economy went south, they were giving up their cable, they were giving up their internet, they weren't buying new ink for their printers. So we still really do serve a lot of people who are coming in for unemployment help, to apply for benefits. We help people access jobs and family services. So it is surprising that we still are engaged in that kind of activity. On the surface, I don't think you would see it, but it's still there. And I think that is just such an important reason for libraries to be in existence in all of our neighborhoods.
Great.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Questions for Katie?
No? Good.
Thank you for the charge that you're leading.
You're welcome.
Several other items. Career Online High School is a new online service that offers students the opportunity to earn a full accredited high school diploma through the library. Students go through an online assessment process to determine a course of study and then proceed to complete their coursework online. The service will be funded by combining dollars from the library's collection budget to support the annual subscription costs and funds provided by the Library Foundation and other targeted funding organizations for scholarships that fund each individual student. The full launch of the service is planned for the fall. This is an exciting 3D printer. The library recently deployed a BakerBot 5th generation replicator 3D printer.
Sounds kind of
Yeah.
science fiction, doesn't it? It's a
At the-
replicator.
Do you have a sample of the?
I have a couple of examples that were printed on the printer here, so
It's
it's
amazing.
kind of neat toy.
Customers may reserve a 3D printer for one 60-minute session per day. During the initial pilot phase, there's been no charge for printing. Effective June 1st, the cost of 3D printing will be associated with the weight of the object printed at 10 cents per gram. The 3D printer has been extremely popular with reservations filled several days in advance. Tell us about how we acquired this and.
Well, we 3D printers come about, I guess, in the last several years and made available, and we just shopped for a printer we thought was the latest, and got the latest printer that we could purchase. Put it, and really just bought it, put it out. Kind of learned on it for the last couple of months. The customers helped. They walked in, they would start printing things, and we would work with it. And it's a very interesting tool. And it's really part of, as the next item, the larger makerspace that we're working on in several locations. This kind of 3D printer is kind of a key component of creating objects.
Yeah, you're showing examples of toys, but there's a lot of uses for a 3D printer.
You can print you can print anything. You can create, well, I won't say anything, but you can create a lot of either toys or useful items. You can take I said this a couple times. I saw one being used, and I was watching This Old House on PBS, and they were creating this, replacing some mold on the ceiling, and somebody came in and kind of traditional, put a mold up there and create it in a traditional sense, and another contractor came in and said, "Why don't you just print one on a 3D printer and put it up there?" So, so there's a lot of uses for them. Some,
Now, what about patents and copyrights on things that people bring in? I mean, is there any kind of restriction in that way?
Most of those, I think, and many of the items that are printed, there's a site, and I can't think of the name of the site, that you can go to and identify, that you can select what you want to print, and actually it has all the design and all the pieces there, and you can then print it out. So all those are copyright free. But there could be issues, I guess, with copyright at some point if someone was trying to replicate. But that's true of a traditional printer and copier and those things as well.
Can they come in with like a microchip and put in the computer, or put into the
If they have a
printer?
design, they can design their own thing. If they want to create a water bottle, they can design it, put it on a flash drive, and put it in the printer and print it. And one of the elements of a makerspace, larger makerspace, is a 3D scanner. So you can have a scanner that'll actually, we don't have one yet, but you put an object on the scanner, and then it scans it and puts it in, three-dimensional design or scan, and puts it into the.
That's the
you
way a
can
lot
put
of
in
sculptures are made,
Yeah.
enlarged.
Why don't you go ahead and segue into the makerspace then?
Well, it is, St. Bernard and Reading both are locations that we have, are planning a makerspace, and we're also going to add one to the main library, which hopefully will be completed. The goal is to have it completed in early 2015. But a makerspace is really a larger unit that includes a variety of technology, really high-end technology, from a 3D printer, laser engraver, 3D scanner, to something as simple as making jewelry. I mean, those things, anything that creates an end product. And so we're looking at Maine to add one. We got a team put together. They'll develop the makerspace and all the technology, staffing component, skills needed, as well as the programming and partnership opportunity. So we're pretty excited about that. It's kind of one of the hottest things in libraries at the moment are maker spaces. In St. Bernard Reading, we have a space.
So we chose St. Bernard Reading because we can carve out the spaces we're under construction to
Yeah.
have that.
Mhm. It's and St. Bernard's obviously a little smaller, but Reading's a good sized space. But both of them are nice spaces. In Maine, we'll identify. We have not identified a space yet at Maine, but we'll identify a space, and it shouldn't in terms. It'll revolve around technology more than anything from a cost standpoint.
Question, Craig, or maybe for Kim, or perhaps for both. How do we determine, in an era where everyone has to make choices, what innovations and exciting new opportunities are needs and what are wants? That is to say, what things are essential. And admittedly, I ask from a biased perspective. We live in a home that was built by people who decided that cars were not going to catch on, so the house never had a garage. Horses were going to stick around. So I realize we have to be innovative and responsive to the opportunities around us. But when you talk about jewelry making, there's no question about the validity of jewelry making. I guess the question is, how far can we go when we make choices? How do we make choices? It's such an open-ended question. This probably isn't the time or place for it. But I think it would be helpful to me to understand how we address that general question when we're looking at new opportunities as opposed to responding to existing needs.
I think the reason for the makerspaces is the kind of it ties to our strategic plan about introducing new technologies to our communities. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is help people in our community stay abreast of those changing technologies. And really it introduces to the community something that no one else is providing to them. So it gives them a place to go and to learn about that. And so that, I think, is probably our driving reason for doing that. And the reason we're not doing it at all, 40 locations at the same time, is exactly that, balancing the needs of the whole system against it. So doing it at 2 or 3 places is kind of as an introductory to it, rather than implementing it fully across every branch. Lets us try it out, see how it works, see if it is something that's truly needed. And because these spaces at St. Bernard and Reading in particular are very flexible, if the demand isn't there for that, we can simply remove the equipment and convert that space to something else.
And I wasn't suggesting for a minute that any of these, I just figure you all are confronted with all kinds of possibilities and how a choice is made. And
Yeah.
it sounds like a former Procter & Gamble test marketing, basically.
I think it takes access to information to another level. It's a different type of access to that. Just
Thank
consider
you.
that technology that I don't have a 3D printer, I'm not sure I will ever have one, but, you know, having access to that, and really the ability to create content beyond just, you know, physical items. You can have recording studios, you can have people creating music, you can have, you know, any sort of content creation. You're creating an end product in a makerspace. So it'll be an evolving unit as well. It may start out looking like this, and over time will change in terms of what technology is out there, what the demand is. So it's an exciting opportunity, I think, for us.
How much did these items cost?
I'm not sure what the 3D printer, Marty, do you know?
The 3D printer was less than $3,000.
And was it an American product, or?
That I don't know. But I do remember how much it cost, because they used to be incredibly expensive, and they've gone down in price dramatically.
It's really not that much.
And you supply the plastic that makes it?
Yeah,
or-
the filament, you buy the filament, which is a reason for the charge, is cost recovery of
Yeah.
of the filament, which is, you know, creates those items.
So we go from MakerBot to Flipster. Flipster is an online service that provides customers access to popular magazines via desktop or mobile devices. Currently, users can download magazines for online reading using an app for the iPad, and the Android app is scheduled to be released in the fall. The new service will launch in July and will complement Zenio, the library's established digital magazine service, by offering access to titles not included in Zenio. Okay.
Have you tried Flipboard? They do the same thing.
Oh, really?
It's an app called Flipboard.
I'm familiar with Flipboard.
A sampling of Flipster titles, including Entrepreneur, National Review, and Clippinger's retirement report. Okay, this is why it's an action item here. We need to vote on the changes to requirements for free library card eligibility. The library card and circulation policy currently allows for free library cards to be issued to residents of the state of Ohio, but does not include free cards to those who own property in but do not reside in Hamilton County. We recommend the board approve changing the policy to read, residents of the state of Ohio or a property owner in Hamilton County are eligible to apply for free library card. And that policy is attached. On June 2nd, the library introduced a special card type that allows book club leaders to place multiple holds on the same title with automatic renewals and no late fees. Very interesting. Book clubs are really popping up everywhere now. The summer learning program is well underway, as are a number of marketing efforts in support of it. Those efforts include traditional marketing collateral, such as posters, bookmarks, and flyers, as well as summer learning website and e-communications to cardholders and targeted groups. The library marketing team has pitched media sponsorship for PSAs, print and web ads, social media and blog mentions, and also plans to on pay-per-click keyword advertising on Google, Bing, and Facebook. Additional paid media efforts are also underway with radio spots that include program interviews, live remotes, events, and web ads. And you want to talk about some programs and
Sure.
exhibits?
A few programs and exhibits here. The Smart Investing at Your Library is a FINRA grant. It's the second year of this Financial Industry Regulatory Authority Foundation grant, and really designed to train teens on financial literacy, to provide some training for the teens and a lot of fun activities. So it's year 2 of that, and that's gearing up. The Frame Cincinnati Photography Competition. This is the library's partnering with the Photography Club of Greater Cincinnati on the a month-long celebration where they will exhibits of historical and contemporary photography, which is held in October 2014. So between June 1 and July 31st, photographers can enter their Frame Cincinnati Photography Competition, and the best submission will be on display at in the atrium of the main library.
Okay, under the heading, No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, the library is partnering with the Cincinnati Symphony and Pops Orchestra to be a community ticket outlet for Luminosity in 2014. beginning January 9th at 10 o'clock and lasting 10 minutes.
If that.
500 tickets for the whole library system to each of the two performances on August 1st and 2nd will be available at 14 library locations. And we were noted in the Enquirer this morning about one of our patrons came at 10:15 and all the tickets were gone and weren't available. So the city council now wants a big investigation on how these tickets are given out. But because they're selling now, trying to sell them on eBay. But
Yeah, the CSO, of course, approached us and gave us the tickets, the allotment, and identified the locations they wanted those to be distributed. And you're right, in about 10 minutes, they were gone in all those locations.
As
So,
they were online as well.
Yeah, right.
okay, Bookworks 15, the annual Cincinnati Book Art Society exhibit of regional book artists showcasing one-of-a-kind handmade books will be on view in the main library's atrium from June 10th to September 7th. In conjunction with the exhibit, there will be 2 artist walkthroughs on Sunday, September 22nd and Sunday, August 3rd at 2 p.m. There will be also a hands-on bookmaking demonstration on Sunday, July 27th at 2 o'clock. That's very good. With that, I make a motion we approve this report.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Mrs. Trout?
Aye.
Mr. Zering?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamacchia?
Aye.
Mr. Hendon?
Aye.
Mr. Sittenfeld?
Aye. Is it at this time that we should consider the motion as well? On the library card and circulation?
That was part of the
Okay, that was part of the approval. Library operations and facilities, Mr. Hampton.
All right, in 2000, the library purchased a single-family residence on Montana Avenue adjacent to the Westwood Branch Library for construction of additional parking for the branch. For years, we lacked the funding to expand the parking, so we have leased the house and is currently on a month-to-month lease. In 2012, the parking expansion was removed from the capital project list. The house was appraised and put on the market for sale. At that time, the appraisal was $40,000. We received an offer of $20,000 and negotiated a price of $35,000. The buyer is ADN Capital Investors LLC. The buyer has specified no inspections are necessary and is paying in cash. The properties are consolidated when the house was purchased, and we have plats and legal descriptions necessary for the cut-up. To move forward with the sale, I requested the board approve the sale of the property for $35,000. The Office of the Hamilton County Prosecuting Attorney has developed a contract for purchase, which the buyer has accepted, Exhibit 1. Authorize Eva Jane Romaine, Combe Director, to sign a contract and deed to complete the sale. That completes the report, so we need to, I recommend we approve this.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Mrs. Trout?
Aye.
Mr. Zering?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamacchia?
Aye.
Mr. Hendon?
Aye.
Mr. Sittenfeld?
Aye. Finance and Audit Committee.
This report covers revisions to 2014 annual appropriations, which are going to be detailed, and then confirmation requested. So I'm going to ask Molly to detail the minor changes to us.
Okay. The first one is a confirmation, something that I already had to do in April, moving $200,000 from purchase and contracted services to other expenses. And that is to account for the actual levy election expenses that were underestimated in the original budget. I had kind of guessed based on what we had paid last time, and because there were only 2 levies on versus 4 levies, it was, instead of $170,000, it was $300,000 were the expenses. The next one is to just reallocate the balance in the building and repair fund from to the capital outlay from purchasing contracted services, and then increase the capital outlay in the gift fund by $50,000. The funding is there, we just, timing of the contributions at the end of the year and plan expenditures for 2014 require an additional amount to be appropriated. That's it.
We will request confirmation to revise these appropriations as detailed.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Moran?
Aye.
Mrs. Trout?
Aye.
Mr. Zering?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamacchia?
Aye.
Mr. Hendon?
Aye.
Mr. Sittenfeld?
Aye. All right, on to informational items, starting with the Director's Report, Kim Fenton.
Thank you. As I've been reporting, we, with the Ohio Library Council and the Columbus Metropolitan Library, have been pursuing changes in some ebook public policy at the federal level with the publishers who are refusing to sell or license their ebooks to us. And we have been pursuing that through the U.S. House Judiciary Subcommittee on Courts, Intellectual Property, and the Internet. And we have been wanting to have a hearing on this matter. We were surprised to learn, and delighted, I guess, that they were having a hearing on the first sale doctrine of the copyright law. This is the portion of copyright law that allows libraries to operate to begin with. It says that if you buy a book, you can loan it to someone, you can resell it without violating the copyright of the original author. So this is what we need to have changed in order to really protect libraries in terms of digital content being available. They had a field hearing in New York on June 2nd that did include a representative from the New York Public Library, but the primary focus of his testimony was not the ebook issue we've been discussing. So we were disappointed not to be there in person. Congressman Shabbat is the only Ohio congressman on that subcommittee. He did not attend the field hearing either. But we were able to submit both questions to be raised during the hearing and also written testimony. And I attached a copy of my testimony for your review that has been submitted. We are also working now with funding that we got from the Ohio Public Library Information Network to do a public awareness campaign, and we're in the process of developing a small website, a video that would be more like not paid advertising, but a social media type video that we would send out to people to let them know about the publishers who are not selling or licensing their ebooks to libraries.
Did the publishers offer testimony or questions?
Yes, they did. And the whole thing you can watch if you really
Oh,
want
thanks.
to. There's an online video. I have not tried to watch it because it was very poor quality. It was very difficult to understand what people were saying.
I thought your letter was very good.
Thank you. I wrote part of it, and I had some assistance with part of it, so I can't claim all the credit.
Well,
But I
I
send it
thought-
under my name.
I thought it stated the situation and the problem very well.
So at least it's on the record now, so that's a step in the right direction. The 3C Highway Committee, which is a
Go back, are we
Yeah.
still pursuing, trying to get a Washington hearing on this?
I don't know, because they had this first sale doctrine hearing. What we're thinking now is perhaps having a hearing at OCLC, which is in Columbus, or Dublin, outside of Columbus, instead, as a way to bring attention to the issue.
Okay.
So we need to get, in fact, Michelle, who's the government relations person now at OLC, sent me a text last night saying, call me tomorrow morning. So as soon as we're done, I will call Michelle and we'll be working on some next steps.
And we still have a lobbyist in Washington working on this? Okay.
Zach from Voice Advisors.
Yeah.
The 3C Highway Committee, which is a group of 15 visitor organizations across the state, is working to have State Route 3 designated as an Ohio Scenic Byway. And the main library and 2 of our branches are on this road, and they asked us to support their efforts, so I did send an email saying that we would support this designation. The Anderson Township Library Association, which you heard so much about from Katie, does support both the Anderson and the Mount Washington branch libraries, and they'll be holding their 34th annual used book sale at Nagel Middle School, June 27th through the 29th. The ATLA was originally formed in the early 1980s to advocate for a new branch library in the eastern suburbs. They were incorporated in November 1985. They hold 2 used book sales annually and donate between $40,000 and $50,000 each year just to these 2 branch libraries. That's a really significant amount of money. Lindsay Danahay, co-chair of ATLA, is here today to talk a little more about their organization.
Oh, great.
You are up. You've been patiently waiting.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about our group, but I think, what can I say? Between Katie and between Kim, they constantly tell us how grateful they are for what we do. We love what we do, and we are all volunteers, no paid employees. We have been in operation with book sales for 34 years. I had to go back to some of the original members who are still with us and working hard to find out how we began book sales. And I learned that the very first book sale happened because this group was formed with the purpose of helping the township and Mount Washington have library services somehow in a better way. And it turned out that people started giving books, and the members started giving books, and they happened to get free space at the Beachmont Mall. And they decided one day, well, we have all these books, let's put a card table out in the hallway and sell books. And the first time they made $300, and they were ecstatic. And the next year they said, let's do it again, and they made $1,000. Well, as they've just said, we make a lot more today. Last year, between our two sales, we made somewhere but almost $60,000. The one sale in November was held right here, if you can believe all the people that were in here and all the books. Children's was out in the children's section, and we made $11,600 alone, just in this small room. So we love what we do. Like I said, some of our original members are still with us. We have new people who join us all the time. Our income since we began is $1,206,000. So
That's a lot.
we think that's pretty good.
I'll say.
It is, yeah. We do give between 40 and 50. Unfortunately, with ebooks and the economy, things have been down. I think that's true of all sales, book sales anyway. We do hold 2 sales a year, 3 days each. We are incorporated as a tax-free organization, so we can only sell for 6 days a year, which is fine with us. That's plenty. We have about 35 members on the roster, but any given day at the warehouse, you'll find maybe 20 of us working hard. We only work 1 morning a week on Wednesdays. We do have pre-sorters who work here at the library, who take all the donations that come here from Mount Washington and Anderson, and they pre-sort them, and then they're picked up by the library and brought to us at the warehouse, and then we clean them and sort them and price them and box them. And when I first joined this group, as a retired professor of business, I looked around and I thought, this is a well-oiled machine. It just works beautifully. And I didn't know how they did it. And the people who have been there a long time explained, well, we just figured it out. And none of these people were professionals in the library business. But we love reading, and our book sales are community events. We've often thought, because of the rent we now have to pay, for 24 years we had free space. Private businesses gave us the space. Then that dried up and we had to rent. Now we pay $13,200 a year to rent. That if we didn't, that would come to the library. So it really hurts us. We're always on the lookout to go back to free space. Hopefully one day that will happen for us so we can give more to the libraries. Any questions? I probably haven't covered something I wanted to, but.
Does anyone know of any free space in this area?
That's a good line, yeah. Yeah. Well, that may happen. We've been renting now for 10 years, which is a shame. We've always had good space. We never have large space. We work in cramped conditions, as some of you have been there know, obviously.
Where is your warehouse?
On Round Bottom Road, there's a company called DSI, and we know of that. Yeah, well, we rent a very small space back in the corner, and we have their assistance in getting these skids loaded with books way up high with a forklift. We don't do that, but we pay them to help us do that, and also to get them back down in preparation for the sale. Our next sale will be the 27th through the 29th. Anyone who lives around here, please come. I know Kim makes it to our sales all the time, and Chris, and they are good sales. I was the chair of the November sale past, and I remember this lady who came up to our cashier's table with her checkbook, and she wrote a check for like $125, and she said, oh, this is great. I finished my Christmas shopping, because our books at the November sale are what we call giftables. They are good. Not that the other ones aren't good, but these are what we call kind of pristine. You can give them away to somebody else. So please try sometime to come. It really is a fun day for us. It's tiring, obviously. We have 2 men who are with us now, and if we didn't have the men, I don't know what we would do, because we can't lift those boxes. I can't either anymore.
On the opening day of the sale, there's a line around the school, people
yeah.
waiting to get in the
Yeah.
door.
The first day of the sale, we make $30,000.
Wow.
The first day is horrendously busy, and the next day we might make 10, and then we have our beautiful bag day, which I don't like, but we get rid of the books that way. We still make money. And then the books that are left over go to Goodwill that year. We figure if they haven't sold in 3 days, they're not going to sell. So we start all over again and do the same thing, and it's fun for us anyway.
Please convey our admiration as well as our appreciation
Thank
to
you.
all those with whom you work.
Thank you. I will tell them, thank you. They knew I was coming today and they were excited. But I had good speeches before me, so I didn't have much to say. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
The foundation held its quarterly meeting on April 30th. At the meeting, the 990 and financial review for 2012 were approved. The foundation distributed $44,550 to the library for after-school edge purchases, brain camp funding, and general support. In addition, the foundation pledged the $13,125 from donations in memory of Charles Lindbergh to go to the first 10 scholarships for the new career online high school product to be implemented this fall. The foundation received additional contributions for summer learning, $5,000 from PNC, $3,000 from Dollar General Literacy Foundation, $1,000 from the Summertime Kids Grant from the Greater Cincinnati Foundation, and $500 from the Juvenile Court Advisory Council. With these gifts, and including the anonymous gift for summer camp reading, the foundation raised $122,500 for summer learning. At the regular meeting, it was reported that the foundation had received a partial distribution of $200,000 from the Bernice Robin estate. The final distribution of $276,733.50 was received April 30th, and we are considering options to publicly acknowledge this generous bequest. We think a plaque or something at the Cheviot branch might be appropriate to just thank her for her remembrance of the library and her will.
Are there family members that could inform what would be most meaningful to her?
I don't believe so. What we learned at the foundation meeting, we had wondered who she was because we really didn't have much on her, and apparently she was Mr. Lindbergh's secretary for years. So there was the connection there. Yeah, we did not know that. Cincinnati Bell has donated 50 tickets for the Cincinnati Reds game on June 21st to the foundation. The fundraiser is open to all staff. And in a similar way to Luminosity tickets, these tickets were gone within minutes of the email going out to the staff. They are sold for $50 a ticket, and the foundation will raise $2,500 from this event. The next foundation meeting is scheduled for July 23rd. On to our Friends. We just have people raising money for us everywhere. It's wonderful. The Friends held their annual and regular meetings on May 9th. At the annual meeting, the Friends re-elected 4 members of their board to a term from 2014 to 2017. Mary Lou Aft, who I think, how many terms is this? Betsy, you probably know better than I do. Mary Lou has been on the board a long time and really been the force behind the success of their book sales. Mike Kozlowski, Robert Vitz, and Amanda Williams. And at that meeting, the Friends reported providing $220,289 in library support in their fiscal year that ended April 1st. At the regular meeting, Kate Lawrence and Diane Smiley, the library's program coordinators, presented a report of Friends support for the final quarter and fiscal year ended March 31st. That quarter, the Friends supported 512 programs, including Jessica Fellows, Author Visit on the Same Page, the Teen Drawing Contest, Read Across America, St. Patrick's Day, and the Aldea, serving almost 10,000 customers and using almost $29,000 on presenters and program supplies. During their fiscal year that just ended, the Friends provided $125,464.89, we count to the penny, for library program. And this does include summer reading and other special programs throughout the year. The Friends held a sale at the Sims branch in April that grossed $6,444, which was significantly more than the previous sale at Sims. And their annual sale at Maine was underway at the time I prepared this report. They raised $72,643 at that sale. That is a decrease from the previous year, but it has been fluctuating up and down for the past 4 or 5 years.
They also complained to me about not having posters out because everything is done on computers now.
There were posters out.
Were there?
Yes, they
Because
were.
that they said that they hadn't seen them and they didn't think there was that much publicity.
The posters were out. There was significant publicity both in social media and in the print formats as well. So we did double, and when they requested that, we reminded branches to put their posters out again early in the sale. So there were print posters provided to every location.
Just that's the feedback that I was getting from some of them when I was
I
down there working.
heard that too, but
Okay.
that was not the case.
Okay.
The next quarterly meeting of the Friends is scheduled for July 25th. Anita and Ed Marks donated a framed 1890s property map of Avondale to the library along with a gift of $500 to be used for artwork for the Avondale branch. They also donated a map of Clifton for the new Clifton branch and pledged an additional gift for artwork there as well.
They have a collection of neighborhoods?
Maps, I guess they did. Apparently they were moving and had a number of these maps and things that they had collected over the years. They were looking for good homes. And the one for Avondale is really very interesting. It's before the branch was built, because that was not until 1913. And you can see how some of the street names and things were the property owners at the time of the map. So very interesting to look at. 11 libraries had issues on the May 6th ballot, 10 of which passed. Paulding County Carnegie Library's renewal failed. And here's a brief summary that 5 were renewals, 2 were new, 2 were additional, 1 was a replacement decreasing, 1 was a replacement with additional millage, and 8 were for 5-year terms, and 3, all of which passed, were continuing. So I did give you a summary as an attachment as well. I will be doing 2 upcoming presentations, one on both on the library summer learning program, one at a United Way Impact Spotlight Luncheon on July 17th, and the other at the annual Ohio Library Council's annual conference on October 10th. And then from June 27th to July 14th, I will be out of the office on vacation. For a portion of that time, I will be in Hong Kong attending meetings. Thank you, Betsy, for sponsoring me for membership in the Olive Baden Powell Society. So I will have limited access to email during that time. Molly, Greg, and Mary will be responsible for the day-to-day operations of the library, and I will delegate to Greg my authority to approve change orders for construction projects during that period.
Up on the United Way Impact presentation you're making, we don't get any money from United Way, do we?
One of the grants that we did get through PNC recently was through United Way. That was the what was that? Grow Up For Me, For You, For Later. I could not think of the name of the program that they did.
Okay.
So,
I was just curious
but
why
perhaps
United.
we could get some more if we talk to them some about what we're doing.
Great.
Do we have a count on how many kids are in the summer reading program yet?
I
And
don't
this-
yet.
No. I just wondered whether it was better this year than last year.
Yeah, it's still early days. It's
Okay.
Other questions for Kim? On to the fiscal officer's report, Molly.
Okay. The 2014 budget included a 3% decrease to the public library fund. Through May, we were trending at an 11% decrease. This is in part attributable to timing differences of the state's fiscal year, but the overall impact of permanent differences is uncertain. The mid-biennium review appropriations bill approved by the Senate in late May included tax reform, which will most likely impact the PLF. The tax reform includes accelerating income tax cuts enacted last summer and increasing the small business tax deduction for 2014. As a result of the current trend and the additional anticipated tax changes, we are expecting overall reductions to the original PLF. We will make a comprehensive budget review at June 30th and make necessary adjustments. Late yesterday afternoon, I did get the June amount, and it's $270,000 more than we were expecting. So right now, we're at about a 6% decrease overall. And, you know, we find out on the 10th what we're getting on the 15th, and then we react, so.
The changes to the biennial budget doesn't happen until July 1st, or?
July 1st,
Okay.
yeah. And
the projection for that is that it will cost us in the state fiscal year 15 about $800,000.
And right now, we're down about $600,000 from where we had expected. So we will look at that once everything goes through and we get some revised estimate numbers, and then make any budget adjustments as necessary. The 2013 audit, most of you were present at the post-audit meeting just a little bit ago. By the August meeting, I will have copies of the CAFR. June 30th is the deadline to file the CAFR to GFOA and file the financial reports to the state. Also, as noted, we did have that one management letter comment, and you know, that I explained to you what it is, so I think that we're, unless anybody has any questions about that.
Moving on then, we go next, Bob, back to library operations and facilities.
Yeah, we had to split those because one had action that we
Right.
wanted to really have documented.
Avondale.
Oh, Avondale, you're.
All right. Avondale ADA project update. The grand opening took place on May 20th. It was a great success. Contractors completed the major work, but they're still working on punch list items. Following change orders have been approved and submitted for confirmation. Change order in the amount of $5,300 or more or less. Triton Services to repair the exterior door of the programming room. Change the hardware on existing door, reroute a downspout at the connector and raise and reconfigure the AV area in the programming room. Change order 201, the amount of $11,900 for Blau Mechanical to add a sump pump for the elevator pit and an expansion tank for the water heater, additional footer drainage and add a separation manhole. Change order 202 for the extension time of Blau Mechanical with no cost increase. Change order 301 for extension time to Hudson Piping, no cost increase. Change order 401, the amount of $11,421 to United Electric to add power to the sump pump, add lights, revise the electric feed to the elevator, revise the emergency lighting in the existing building, revise the raceway and staff room. Add a phone jack to the elevator, add a service, so forth and so on. Change order 403, the amount of $7,239, United Electric to relocate power and data, add power new ADA entry door, revise the electric panel, revise the exit sign location in the basement, supply electric and dryers to the hand dryers. Change order 404 for extension time to United Electric with no cost addition. I have a question on these additional items. Shouldn't these been part of the original contract?
Well, there's always some things that get missed. The thing is, yeah, if they had been part of the original contract, they would have been included in the bid that we received, so we would have still paid for them.
Yeah, but you
Now,
probably
we
wouldn't have paid as much.
That's correct. So yes, that was part of our concern in looking at this, especially things like the elevator sump pump and a couple of other things that
I mean,
are pretty obvious.
That's,
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, everybody who puts an elevator knows you have to have a sump pump for it.
And everybody knows you have to have
Electric.
power to an ADA.
Door, yeah.
Well, I recommend that we look at who did the mechanicals for this and watch out on the next projects.
Yeah. Well, K4 was the architect, and I believe they did the mechanicals internally.
Aha,
So,
well, maybe we want to kick back to them.
yeah.
All right, the Clifton project, nearly all the interior demolition is complete. Drilling for the geothermal wells will begin in approximately 2 weeks allowing for site demolition to occur. St. Bernard and Reading projects, since the board meeting, a legal review of the bids was conducted and we have some problems. Triton Services was a low bidder for both plumbing and HVAC. However, it was learned after the bids were opened, that as April 1st, 2014, Triton is on the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission list of debarred bidders. At the October 13 regular meeting, the board adopted a policy stating that contracts would not be awarded to any firm on the list. Accordingly, the bids were rejected and contracts have been signed with the next lowest bidders. Queen City Mechanicals was awarded with plumbing contract at additional cost of $17,880, and Arctic Heating and Air Conditioning was awarded a mechanical contract at an additional cost of $12,000. The board was notified of this change by email prior to the contract award. During legal review for the contracts for the project, it was determined by the Office of the Prosecuting Attorney that the bid for Cal Roofing, the low bidder for the roof work, was not a valid bid. Their bond form indicated a bond in the amount of 10%. The supplemental instructions for bidding indicate that they have to have an amount, a sum there. If completed, the amount should be less than the full amount of the bid, including alternatives stated in dollars and cents. A percentage is not acceptable. After reviewing this matter with me, a contract was signed with the next lowest bidder, William Kramer, with additional cost of $69,430. Cal Ruth is disputing the prosecutor's office determination, as indicated they may pursue the matter further. Attached to Exhibit 1 are copies of the relevant correspondence.
Do we know why Trident was debarred?
I think this is the same issue that we originally learned about last fall when they were bidding on the Avondale project. And it just took that long for them to be put on the debarred list. Now, what's interesting is, last week when I was looking at that list, that has been stayed pending an administrative appeal that Triton has filed. So we signed the contracts on May 29th, and on May 30th, they were, again, an eligible bidder. So we have to be watching that list very closely because it does change. By now, that administrative appeal may have been resolved, and they may be off it for good or back on it for.
Do we have any issues with them at Avondale?
Yes.
Okay. Enough said.
Maybe you asked this, what causes you to be debarred?
They, well, they have to,
They were debarred by the federal, on a federal list, probably about over a year ago, a longer period of time.
it has to do with not following public bidding regulations properly or doing public work properly.
And they were very, in Ohio, they were the only people on the list. It is not a very big list.
It's a one
So,
firm list.
yeah.
So,
So it's for not doing the things that they had listed, or that they,
yeah, there would have to be a justifiable reason. They would have some.
Well, since we had issues at Avondale, maybe they did us a favor by putting them on the debarred list.
Yeah. Even though it costs us a little more money, in the long run, if we had had a number of change orders or other issues down the line, it might be cheaper.
Right.
Okay, to offset these additional costs, a number of value engineering items were looked at and come up with total cost savings of $37,675. Furniture will be lower than budget as well. The original budget included purchasing all new shelving, doing existing unused inventory shelving and storage. A much smaller quantity of storage will be needed to be purchased. The available existing shelving will need to be repainted, but the total cost will be significantly less than the original budget. Update on the main library roofing, it's moving along slower than expected, surprise, surprise, due to the weather. It's expected it will be complete their work in late July. Are we gonna have a grand opening of the new roof?
Yes, there'll be a party up there. It already kind of looks like a party because there are these pennants all over, and so.
And that completes my report.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Hendon? Moving on to the Human Resources Committee, Barbara Trout.
the staff recognition program revamp. In February, a project team was organized for the purpose of revamping the staff recognition program. One of their primary goals was to recommend changes that would be aligned with the library's mission, vision, and value statements. The recommendations divided the staff recognition program into two formats, formal and informal recognition. Among the changes to formal recognition were replacing the MVP awards with Rufus Awards, which focus on the core competencies. The former President's Award, selected by the board president from the MVP award winners, has been changed to the Impact Award, still chosen by the president from the Rufus Award recipients. The full list of recommendations is attached, Exhibit 1. This year's annual staff retirement recognition program will be held on Sunday, November 16, 2014. All Rufus Award winners will be recognized and the Impact Award and Bunny Daner Prize presented. The Omoyosi versus Wyoming branch case has been dismissed. On Tuesday, April 29, 2014, the Wyoming branch manager received a notice from Hamilton County Municipal Court stating that the magistrate's decision was to dismiss the Omoyosi case. Should I read these formal and informal?
And unless someone has questions,
And do we need to vote on that at all?
no.
Okay.
How did the volunteer sheet go that we had for the volunteers for the library?
It was very nice. Andrea was there as well. This is Andrea Kaufman. She's filling in for Mary, who is in Hawaii. So, and did not come back for our meeting.
It's only half as far as Hong Kong,
Yeah, I don't know what her.
step by step.
Since he was nice, we
Were-
had,
Were there quite a few people who came?
there were, I did have a count, and I didn't bring it with me, maybe 24, close to 24, not quite, volunteers that attended. And then the staff from a few branches came.
Yeah.
It was nice. They appreciated it.
Okay, well, so I was wondering how to hold on to these volunteers.
Absolutely.
If there is to be, is a goal of the staff event, as happened obviously last year, but not before, the attendance of children, which was, I think, asking a lot of them because it wasn't aimed at them. Should there be something, some
For
component of it
children.
that, even if something as simple as a little music or something, it might be. We always try not to put our children in situations where if they behave badly, it was our fault. And that was asking a lot, I thought.
Okay, we'll keep that.
Maybe we can do something fun with, or make it clear that it's not an ideal place to bring your 6-year-old, either way. But on a Sunday early evening, it's nice family time if we can make it more fun for them.
Always making notes.
On to the consent, if there's no questions, or Barbara, I'm sorry,
No questions.
the consent agenda items.
We do have one note on the minutes. We did make a correction to a report that had a mistake in the percent of the split between the employee-employer share and the benefit payment. In the last report, it said, I think, did you make the note of this? We just had the percent slightly wrong. It said like 17.
17 and a half and 82 and a half, and it should have been 16 and 84.
So we corrected that in the minutes, so that it did not perpetuate that mistake. But we do want you to approve the minutes without knowing that.
All right. We have circulated to us the minutes of the meeting of April 8, 2014. Are there suggested additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes other than what was referenced? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept them?
Would you do the whole consent agenda, or do you
No,
want to do the
everything,
minutes?
let's go ahead and do it all.
Okay.
So moved, we accept it.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Moran?
And I'll pass on investments.
Okay, Mrs. Drop?
Aye.
Mr. Zering?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamont?
Aye.
Mr. Hendon?
Aye.
Mr. Sittenfeld?
Aye. Is there other business to come before the meeting? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.
Very good.